What happens when partners in accounting firms start to feel a little bit irrelevant, a little bit out of touch? You've spent decades building your reputation, building your network, clients trust you, but now you feel like a little bit more of a ghost in the room, or decisions are made without the weight of your opinion as it used to be. This episode is part 3 in a 5-part series on the broken career ladder in accounting. Leaders who can speak the language, and if you can't speak the language of business and you've not got that commercial acumen, then you will soon become irrelevant. When private equity comes in, one of the early things they might do is scrutinize your client base and see who the most unprofitable clients are. And they don't care that you've been with that client 20 years since that client started. If it's not profitable, you or them will get rid of the client. So we need to be maintaining current networks internally and externally. We need to be working on our personal brand and our profile and our connectivity and our tech skills. What happens when partners in accounting firms start to feel a little bit irrelevant, a little bit out of touch? You spent decades building your reputation, building your network, clients trust you, teams respect you, you've got a voice in the firm, the board listen to you. But now, possibly, you feel like a little bit more of a ghost in the room, or decisions are made without the weight of your opinion as it used to be. Younger staff are challenging your methods or the way things are done around here. Clients want dashboards and not spreadsheets. Technology replaces judgment and instinct, the kind of thing you prided yourself on. Experience seems to count for less. You're not retired. You're still at the table. But deep down, you're wondering whether your relevance is still holding, wondering whether you're still needed. I'm looking at some research I did on Perplexity. You can check it out. It's just an AI app. What's the average age of a partner in an accounting firm in the UK and the US? It says this: the average age is typically around 40 to 42 years old, especially at large firms such as the Big Four. There are notable exceptions, some in their late 20s, early 30s, particularly at smaller or particularly fast-paced firms. If you're running a partnership model, or even if you're not, we're talking in this episode of the people that are at or near the top of the tree in an accounting firm. It says here on my research, the recent trend is a decrease in the age at which people make partner, tied to firm expansion, market dynamics. What's happening is, as firms are expanding, they want more people in leadership positions. They don't want grinders and people like that, because AI and automation is taking up a lot of that work, and there's a lot of scrutiny on this. Let me give you some context here of why we're talking about this. This episode is part 3 in a 5-part series on the broken career ladder in accounting. Now, I'm being dramatic, but this is a podcast, so bear with me. I'm Rob Brown, host of the Accounting Influencers podcast. This show's been going 7-8 years. We arm accountants with the information that they need, the context that they need to remain relevant, influential, authoritative, personally branded, with some say in their own affairs and some sway, some gravitas in what's happening at the firm. So, more context. In the first one, we started looking at the death of entry level, the collapse. People coming out of degrees and complaining that they can't find that foot on the ladder. They can't find that first job. There's not enough out there. And the problems with this is that the AI and the automation is taking up a lot of that grunt work that used to be done. And there's not so much of it as there used to be. So coming in and sitting in a desk for 5 years and earning your stripes and getting the feel of the firm, that's a luxury these days for firms. So we hit that first rung of the ladder and the death, dramatic, I know, of entry-level jobs. So new talent has nowhere to land. That was the problem with that one. The AI automation is doing the starter work. Firms are hiring less, and when they do, they want people that are already well-versed in the tech. In episode 2, we looked at the middle management type, the managers, the supervisors, the experienced staff, maybe been there 5, 10, 15 years. We're seeing not just in accounting, but you look at any tech firm now. At Microsoft just laid out off another 9,000 people this week. Amazon has nearly 1 million bots now doing their work. I know they're not accounting, but we know where this is going, don't we? With AI and robotics and everything else. So these managers, these middle level positions that generally form the middle of the pyramid, that they're being let go or being marginalized or disenfranchised, not because they failed, not because they weren't good, but because the work has changed and the value proposition isn't so clear anymore of what we get from the top. In this episode, we are talking about that top echelon, the senior managers, the directors, the equity partners, the principals, if you like, the firm leaders, the people who were once the anchors of the profession, still are to an extent. We know this is a baby boomer heavy world in accounting, certainly in the US, the UK, where our audience is big. And I'm not sure what it's like in India. We have a big audience for this podcast in India. And the people who were at the top, the hard truth is this: the higher up you go, the more dangerous irrelevance becomes. The economy is squeezing things. Private equity is coming in and demanding accountability on who is worth what and who is doing what. Nearly 75% of CPAs in the US hit retirement age in 2020. That number's growing every year. 10,000 baby boomers turn 65 every single day. And you've got to ask, what impact is that having? Many leave the profession voluntarily. They retire out, that's fine. Some are pushed before they want to go. Some are sidelined. Some are quietly moved out of the way, but not with a pink slip, but just fewer meetings, fewer decisions, fewer projects, fewer career capital. Less career capital is what I'm trying to say, but not very well. And AI on automation, we know it's changing the way firms deliver value. Clients expect real-time insights. I saw a stat from Zero recently that said 1/3 of US accountants do not automate a bank feed. So they're not giving real-time data to clients. I'm thinking now, is that 1/3 or 2/3 don't automate a bank feed? But it's frightening, isn't it? Whatever number that is. Clients want real-time insights. They want predictive analytics. They want proactive recommendations. They want accountants to be consultants and CFOs and trusted advisors and a peer of the client. They don't want historical stuff. They want foresight. They want leaders who can speak the language. And if you can't speak the language of business and you've not got that commercial acumen, then you will soon become irrelevant. You'll soon get passed over. The clients will see less relevance. And clients are getting younger, aren't they? And more people are coming out of corporate life, starting companies. People are in the tech space now. There's new companies being incorporated all the time. And these are younger and younger people being entrepreneurs. Do they want a 50, 60-year-old accountant? Maybe. There's certainly a lot of wisdom you've got there, but we know inside firms the power dynamic is shifting. Innovation is led by people who know technology. They've got fluency there, digital strategy. These meetings are happening without the old guard, by and large. The younger staff are questioning hierarchy. There's even this phrase, unbossing. You may have come across it in corporate life, where people don't want to be promoted. They don't want to go up to senior positions because of all the stress and hassle that management causes, because you get squeezed from the top and the shareholders or the private equity people or the board, and you get squeezed at the bottom with people wanting ever better, different ways to do things. People are saying no to that. They want a career on their terms. They're looking for a more singular career ladder. So we know that the dynamic's changing. People want purpose less than packages and posture. They want mentorship, not management. And if you lead with authority, but you lack some relevance, in other words, you lead by power and not respect. You lead by fear and role and not by empathy. These people are going to tune you out. So there's pressure at the top for sure. Clients are changing too. Buyers are more and more discerning. They go more and more online. It's the Google doctor. If you've got something wrong with you, instead of calling a pharmacy or a doctor, or in England we call them GPs, general practitioners, you go on Google. My wife just had a rib injury recently and she went to Dr. Google. She looked it all up before she decided whether she should go to a doctor. Clients are doing the same. Clients have a situation and they'll chat GPT it, or they'll Google it, or wherever else they go, they'll ask their friends. The accountant is not the first point of call as it used to be in that peer of the buyer, that trusted person in the business. So these clients are changing. As I said, buyers are getting younger. They're more informed. They're more demanding. They're less impressed by tenure and experience. In fact, experience might count against you, because how you did things 10, 20 years ago is not how things are done now. And clients know that. They want answers fast. They want commercial insight and awareness. They don't want a lecture. They don't want to be challenged. Well, they do want to be challenged, sorry. They don't want to be condescended to. And there's another factor that's shifting the game here. Let me have a drink of my tea, English tea. Private equity. Let's talk PE. I did an interview for the Illinois CPA Society recently. They've got a magazine going out, and they were talking about how can firms stay independent with the onslaught of private equity. So we examined that. And they're going to feature a couple of stalwart names. Alan Colton, Bob Lewis is on there. Matt Rampey is on there as well. He of Rosenberg fame. And these are great people talking about private equity. But yeah, we know it's changing the game. It's shifting power inside firms. The influx of non-accountants coming into firms. We're going to do a special series on private equity coming up. I've done some episodes on it, but it's changing all the time. These non-accounting people coming in, running firms, changing everything. External capital brings external scrutiny, external expectations, speed, scale. What else? Accountability, ROI. It's all about the metrics. It's all about trimming the cost. Top line growth is no longer enough. The most expensive people in a firm are the partners and the people at the top. So leadership now comes with extra responsibility, extra metrics. Performance reviews are sharper. I've heard stories about people being let go or without performance reviews. So it's not necessarily about how good you are. Yeah, underperforming partners are no longer protected by tenure or equity. There's a lot of scrutiny now on, even if you are good, you might be superfluous to requirements. You might not have enough to keep you in the role. Traditional business models and structures are under pressure in accounting firms. Decision making is a lot faster. Gone are the days where we need to think about it and pray about it and take some time and get this right. Executive power shifts to operating boards and C-suite models who don't necessarily care how long you've been in the firm. And to give you an example of that, when private equity comes in, one of the early things they might do is scrutinize your client base and see who the most unprofitable clients are. And they don't care that you've been with that client 20 years since that client started. If it's not profitable, you or them will get rid of the client. That's the way it goes. So it's less about relationships. They don't care how long. They care whether you're on their team and you're helping to win. So this old idea that once you made partner, you were untouchable, this is my message. We know that's dying. In place is a new reality. Influence has got to be earned, and it's got to be earned every day, because what made you influential last week doesn't necessarily count for this week. So again and again, people are less impressed by tenure and more impressed by agility and commercial awareness. They want quick answers. They want commercial insights, and we've got to deliver that, because if we don't, we're going to be in trouble. The ones that used to thrive are doing something that's no longer relevant. Their networks, their connections, their kudos, their experience. We've got to get curious again. We've got to stop pretending to know it all. We've got to embrace technology at this higher level. I'm getting on a bit now. We've got to rebuild our presence. We've got to keep asking the right questions. And if this is you, I want to give you some practical applications here to stay in the game. If you want to stay in the game, or at least if you want to leave on your terms, spend some time around people that are innovating and get that innovation bug, because if you can stay on the right side of innovation, you've got a chance. Find out what tools are being rolled out, what tech's being taken on. You don't have to be a geek. You don't have to write code. But if you're involved in those conversations around tech, even if you are in your 50s, 60s, and I know a lot of great tech people at that age, then you stay relevant. So sit in on those conversations. You don't need to run the tech, but you need to know how it changes your service line, your role, your firm, your values, your client base. You've got to know what's going on. Re-express your value. This involves a little bit of personal marketing, which most accountants struggle with. But as Muhammad Ali says, I'm fond of saying, it ain't bragging if you've done it. Now, yes, we know we can't rely on what we did yesterday and our accomplishments of years gone past, but you've got to keep reminding people of how good you are and what you are on with. So re-expressing your value. Client trust is important. Strategic oversight is important. Institutional knowledge. These are all good. These matter, but you've got to frame it in a way that feels current and not nostalgic. You can't harp on about the good old days and how it used to be. You don't necessarily need to be cool as a partner, but you need to be curious, possibly speaking less, not that loud voice in the room. Listen more, inviting feedback, sharing stories that teach and not preach. The younger generations don't respond well to preaching these days. And if you already feel you've been sidelined, it's not too late. I want to do an episode in the future about things you can do by way of warning signs that you might be becoming less relevant to the firm, that your job might be at risk. But we'll come to that in another one. But it's not too late for you. If you're a senior leader And I work with them in this space to build their personal brand, to build their authority, both externally in the wider business community and in certain niches that they operate, and internally, so that they have more of a grip on what's going on in the firm, and they are seen to be more relevant. So talk to me about that on LinkedIn if you want. It just involves me interviewing experts like you, leaders, every month to turn that into thought leadership and video snippets and things like that. You don't need to start a podcast, though. You don't need to, being on video is good. It brings out your personality, but you don't need to become an influencer, but you do need to reclaim your authority or remind people of your authority in a way that's relevant. And that means starting to own some narratives, starting to speak declaratively into situations, stepping into spaces where the new conversations are happening rather than just letting people get on with it. Influence doesn't disappear overnight, but it does drift. And you've got to bring it back and be really mindful of your personal reputation, your personal brand. It's what people are saying about you behind your back. And if you don't have a reputation or they're not saying anything, that in itself is problematic, isn't it? Let's be honest. If you're over 50 and you haven't updated your leadership style in a while, then the market's already moving without you. If you've not changed your coaching style, or you're not doing any coaching or mentoring, and you're not staying sharp with those kind of people development skills, you're being marginalized. You'll be less and less relevant. So if the market's moving past you, it doesn't mean that you're obsolete yet. It just means that you're overdue an upgrade. You're overdue some upskilling. You're overdue a brand refresh. And in episode 1, we looked at the crumbling base of the profession, no clear entry point, no volume of fresh talent coming in to supply the pyramid, the hierarchy, no sustainable training model. In episode 2, we saw that the middle fallout, the middle hollowing, those years of experience are being traded for automation, outsourcing. In this episode, I'm talking about the quiet crisis at the top. When you are looking for legacy, you're looking for meaning, you're looking for purpose, you're looking for making a difference, you come into work and you're thinking, is this the best that life has to offer me? Yeah, you may be being paid well. Are you doing meaningful work? Are you making a difference? Are you factoring in the future of the firm? Senior leaders are losing relevance in firms that no longer play by the old rules. That's what we're doing here. So you need to keep a grip on this and stay ahead of it. I just want to get you thinking about it. I don't want this to happen to you by accident. And overnight you think, well, how did I lose this? There's a great quote by Harvey Mackay, who wrote a book called Swim with the Sharks. I've not read the book, but the quote is, dig your well before you're thirsty. So we need to be maintaining current networks internally and externally. We need to be working on our personal brand and our profile and our connectivity and our tech skills and our commercial awareness. In the UK, we call it commercial savvy. In episode 4, which is the one after this, so we covered the entry level, we covered the mid-level, I'm covering the partners in this one. So you are on notice. You're not there forever, but let's get it going on your terms. In episode 4, I want to go into something more subtle. It's not the layoff, it's not the firing, it's the slow freeze. Fewer invitations, fewer projects, fewer promotions, being a little bit marginalized. It's that stalled, silent firing, feeling that you're less and less in control. That happens at all levels. And it's happening more than people realize. You only need to look at the job market at the moment. Unemployment's rising massively in tech, in blue-collar work, in all kinds of white-collar work, knowledge workers. You can look in the news any day and look at the big 4 and the consulting companies. People have been laid off. What's happening to these people? Where are they going? If it can happen to them, can it happen to you? Yes. So in episode 4, we're going to address that and try and inoculate you against what's going on, or at the very least, see if we can equip you for life beyond your accounting firm. And in episode 5, I want to look forward and talk about what the future firm actually looks like with the disruption of outsourcing and the economy and private equity and artificial intelligence. Who thrives in it? Who doesn't? Who gets marginalized? Who are the winners and losers? How do you position yourself to succeed in that new world, which is here now? So every episode in this series is telling you what's really happening in the accounting profession and what you can do about it. Thanks for listening. I'm Rob Brown. This is the Accounting Influencers podcast. If you're ready to build or rebuild your presence, be more vocal and visible, reassert your relevance, or even build a strategic voice inside your firm or across the profession. Reach out, and that's what I do. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.